Alright, suspended chords. So, just a brief recap on the steps to take, in finding the chords in key. And remember, this is, when doing stuff in key, it's important to see, how do I want to word this? It's like when we were talking about like the E suspended flat second yesterday, and you originally were thinking like just counting the notes in the key of C, just counting like E is 1, F is 2, and then the B is the 5. So it's always important to remember that when it comes to chord names, you don't want to think of it always in terms of a specific key, because you got to keep in mind, what the interval structure is going to be. So let's say you're in a particular key and you're playing some, or like reading tab or note structure or whatnot, and then they put a chord in there that happens to not be in key. So understanding that we can do things like that when it comes to just writing music is okay. But yeah, like this, like the sus flat 2 and then the sus flat 2 flat 5 or the sus sharp 4, things like that. It's really just about, these are the things that occur when you're building chords that come from that major scale, and we'll have those different intervals happen depending on where we start within that major scale. And that's basically like how the modes come about, because you'll have different interval structures. So hope that makes sense. I'm pretty sure that I'm just kind of repeating stuff that you already know, but I just wanted to make sure that good understandings there. So with this big old thing, I imagine this is going to be pretty good in helping you memorize these suspended second and suspended 4 shapes. Again, the biggest thing for everybody, including myself, I think, is just knowing how to get to those chords. So getting to the suspended second, remember the easiest trick to do that is you identify the third or flat third interval in the triad chord you want to change, and you lower it to the very next note in key if the goal is to stay in key. Now, for the suspended 4, again, you identify the third or flat third interval in that chord, in the triad chord you want to change, and then raise that third or flat third interval up to the very next note in key. Now, of course, you can put sus 2s and sus sharp 4s and whatnot anywhere that you want, but it won't always be in that key that you're in. Okay, so with this, I do think it would be best to get one line down at a time. So I'd like you to be able to run through this whole thing at the 60 beats a minute. See if that goes okay. I'll ended each line with that half note to give you time to get over to the next chord shape. So I'd imagine the F chord section is going to be the most challenging. So anytime you get something like this, single it out, put extra work into that. And I try to have the same picking pattern happen for most of these things. Well, basically, if you have the 5 string chords, you're just up and down, no string skipping there. 4 string chords, still got up, down, up a little bit, and then right back to where it was. The 6 string chords, you go up 4 notes, down 4 notes, so you have a 1 string skip there. So I just kept that pattern throughout this whole thing. So what I'm going to do here, play along. I'm actually going to try and play along with the MIDI track. Let me double check the volume here, because I won't be able to get all this on screen, but I think I could be able to play along with the whole thing. Okay, so here we go. Let's see how well I do, having hardly practiced these shapes at all myself recently. 2, 3, 4. too bad there. So one thing I do to help doing chords like this, because I'm trying to line up obviously the picking with each individual note, what I'll do, and you may have noticed, is I will put my fingers down like one at a time as I go with a lot of these things. Like, for example, like that line. So when I get into that diminished shape, I'm kind of doing one finger at a time. This helps me a lot. So that might be something to try and do. Now, obviously, if you're strumming the chord, that's going to make things a bit different. And then you'll definitely want to get all fingers down at the same time as best as you can. But in arpeggiating chords like this, I like to just do one finger at a time as I'm picking it, and it seems to work just fine in terms of like how it sounds. And for me, again, it just makes it a lot easier to piece all those things together. So give that a try and see if that helps you at all. Okay, let's give this a whirl. Yeah, let's adjust this a little bit. Okay. Here we go at 60. 1, 2, 3, 4. And double time. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. One 60. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. $200. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Getting tough. Getting tough. All right. Let's see if I can hit this top goal speed of 240. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I don't think I can. Nah, ain't gonna happen. I have to work up to that one there. So definitely, this is not a super easy one to get going crazy fast, but it'll work on. Besides just your left hand to work, the big challenge is going to be that quick change going from the E string to the A string and then right back down to that E string. So that's going to be the tough part there. And try your best not to have a chord ring out. So this is an instance where it's probably best to actually kind of take your fingers off as you go, like that. This way you'll avoid having chords ring out there, because like this type of thing, I think it'll sound best if you don't have any chords ringing out. It sounds extra metal that way. So I think that covers everything we talked about yesterday. But we're going to be using all the triad stuff in conjunction with the suspended chord stuff for a bit. So we're going to be repeating things that you've used, things that you've learned. This way you keep getting work with the arpeggios and the chord shapes and so on. and help everything continue to sink in there. So, if you have any questions before next week, please let me know. And I'll see you again Sunday.